All right, what is going on, everyone? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching, for listening, for following, for subscribing. You guys are the best. I truly appreciate you very, very much. Today's episode is sponsored by Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road in Lackawanna, just minutes away from Highmark Stadium. I've said it once, I said it a million times. Sunny Reds is not one of the most underrated places to go for wings and other food in Western New York. Sunny Reds is the most underrated place in all of Western New York to go for wings and all kinds of other food, plus a great vibe there. Love that place. They're big fans and supporters of this show, so please go out there and support them in return. All right, so as usual on our Tuesday show following a Sunday Bills game, I've had a chance to watch the All-22 film, and I've spent a lot of time watching the film this week. Some PFF grades analysis, and I come to you today armed with my biggest Buffalo Bills Week 13 takeaways. Of course, a big, and I mean big victory for the Bills, a resounding victory for the Bills on Sunday Night Football, prime time, 35-10 over the free-falling San Francisco 49ers. As many of you know now, the Bills have clinched the AFC East for a fifth consecutive year. And this is the earliest that the Bills have clinched the AFC East. Not just the Bills, but any team in the NFL. This is the earliest anyone has clinched a division since the Indianapolis Colts back in the Peyton Manning days, all the way back in 2009. So this magical ride for the Buffalo Bills that has them at 10-2 right now continues. And as a Bills fan, of course, it is awesome to see. They are doing it on both sides of the football for sure. They scored 30 points on Sunday night for a sixth consecutive game. They've scored 30 points or more, folks, in 9 of their 10 victories this year. So whether it's running the ball, throwing the ball, combination of both, different guys stepping up each week. We see it week after week. This offense is just finding ways to put points on the board. As for the defense, they have some crappy moments, especially early in games, but they just really find a way to buckle down, make adjustments, and ultimately kind of squeeze the life out of the opposing offenses. As impressive as the Bills scoring 30 points or more 6 straight times, 9 times already this season, I think what the defense is doing is just as impressive, because in the second half of games, folks, the Bills defense has allowed 7 points or less in 10 of their 12 games. That is really ultra impressive. So no matter what way you look at it, offense, defense, coordinating, head coach, so far, and we still got a lot of football to go, hopefully a lot more football than just 17 games, but we're 12 games in, and this is almost peak Buffalo Bills football that we are watching right now. It's great to see. Obviously, for many people, especially those outside of Buffalo, this is surprising, if not borderline stunning. I've noticed on social media, and I can't say I hate it. I haven't partaken in it, but I don't hate it. A lot of receipt collectors out there right now. A lot of people who's bookmarked a lot of tweets from fans who thought of other teams who thought the Bills were going to suck. A lot of media people who thought the Bills were going to suck. Some content creators from around the league that thought the 2024 Buffalo Bills were going to suck. And a lot of those receipts are getting thrown back in the faces of the haters right now. So a pretty cool thing to see if you're a Bills fan anyway. As for, like I said, my Week 13 takeaways, I got a handful of them. I don't want to take too much of your time up here today. And these aren't necessarily in random order. I'll say this too. Most of them obviously are positive, but there's a few things I like to look for in film, like a play or two. Like for me, and I'll get to it in a few minutes, there was one play early in this game that I want to describe. Didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but it was a penalty, a defensive penalty by San Francisco that may have ultimately, didn't feel like it at the time, like I said, but it may have ultimately turned the tide of this football game. If you're nitpicking for the Bills, and I'll get to this a little bit later on, Deebo Samuel had not one but two really long kick returns. Well, what went wrong? Who was at fault? Watching the film, I kind of pinpointed that, so I'll share that with you. Plenty else today on the show. But I want to dive in right now. My biggest takeaway, my first takeaway, and my biggest one is this. The Buffalo Bills right now feel like a team, especially after watching them Sunday in the snow, in the elements, which was, of course, the first time this season that we've seen it. But this feels like a team that is built for games like we saw on Sunday night. Now, for years and years, for every team in the NFL, some more than others, Bills probably near the top. That home comfort that you get of sleeping in your own bed, having your own meals in your own home, driving to the stadium for a game, that can't be understated. That's a big advantage for the home team. And again, some crowds more than others. The home crowd for Orchard Park, when the Bills play at home, it's raucous, it's rabid. That's always going to be a home field advantage for the Buffalo Bills, whether it's September or whether it's 5 degrees out in January. No question about that. But I have felt like, before this season anyway, the Buffalo Bills' style of play and makeup of this team in recent years hasn't always been the most conducive to a team that could play well, play their best football, their best brand of football in January. I think it's fair. You know, Joe from Queens, who's been coming on my show for years, we fight about a lot of shit. But one of the things we fight about most, or have fought about most, going into this season is when the Bills were good and they were fighting for a top seed or fighting for a 2 seed, arguing that, hey, are the Bills better off with Josh Allen and his high-flying, pass-happy offense? Would you rather be at home in Orchard Park in January when it's like it was Sunday night, where the weather is a factor, the snow could be a factor, the wind, so many winter elements could be a factor? Would you rather do that, or would you rather go on the road, say to Houston, where weather's not going to be a factor? I remember a couple of years ago where if the Bills and the Chiefs were going to meet in the AFC Championship, it was going to be in the Dome in Atlanta. And I remember a lot of people said, well, you know, you'd rather have the game in Orchard Park, or would you rather have it neutral field in Georgia? My point, the weather, the track, the elements, I think in the past, this football team was quite frankly built to a point where it might have been better off playing in those conditions, even if it meant not being at Highmark Stadium in January. Like, you get the offensive line. You know, Mitch Morse was a fantastic center, but he was more of a finesse guy. Stephon Diggs, it's about timing. Cole Beasley, John Brown, a lot of these types of receivers that have been so good for the Buffalo Bills during his Josh Allen, Sean McDermott regime, they were more about finesse and precision. That's not to say Stephon Diggs couldn't play when it was cold out, or Cole Beasley couldn't make a play because it was too cold. I'm not saying that. But I just don't think this team was built that way. And the run was kind of used more to try to set up the pass, or would it be the other way around? They used the pass to try to set up the run a little bit. It never felt like they were serious and committed to the run, even if some seasons and some games, the rushing stats would look good. That wasn't their identity. I guess that's what I'm getting at here with you. But now, things feel different to me. This Bills team right now in 2024, their identity is different. This is a football team, Sean McDermott, Joe Brady, they want to take the football and they want to at times mix it up. And at times, honestly, they want to run the ball down your throat. They want to smash the ball down your throat. They got a physical offensive line. Connor McGovern is a bigger center than Mitch Morse. They love to have that 6 offensive lineman. Like, Alec Anderson is a borderline starter on this offense at this point. They like to run the ball. They like to smash the ball. They like to mix it up. Almost to a point where you might get frustrated because you'll accuse Joe Brady of being too conservative. But that's what their identity is now. And they got a legitimate, every team's got a 3-headed running back room. The Bills have a legit 3-headed running back room right now. James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. And that doesn't even include, of course, Josh Allen, as we've seen many times, including Sunday night, That is a dude that can get you the tough yards. He does a lot, a lot. And you don't know what running back it's going to be on any given night. Real quick, I'll call myself out here. I made a fool of myself on Twitter, which, nothing new for me. But Sunday night early on, it felt like this was going to be a Ray Davis and Ty Johnson type night. And I tweeted that. And quite literally, the next time the Bills got the ball, the next time they touched the ball, James Cook takes a hands off, bounces out right, blazing speed down the sidelines. I can't believe James Cook ran that fast in those elements. Bam, 65-yard touchdown. But my point is they could just beat you in so many ways, including the ground and being physical. Ray Davis, a very physical running back. Ty Johnson is a more physical running back than you think. And we've seen it a lot with James Cook, who couldn't find the end zone to save his life last year. Didn't really get a lot of opportunities. This year, he is finishing off drives in the end zone, getting lower, using his pads, kind of delivering the blow as much as he's receiving them this year. Just a different mentality from James Cook and all these running backs. And then you got these big physical receivers that are made for this offense. And it didn't feel like it at the time, but it's really holding true now. Matt Collins, a fantastic blocker who's out there a lot. And now you know why he's out there a lot. Hell of a blocker, plus he's making plays. Keon Coleman's been hurt, but when he's healthy, he's out there. He's blocking. You saw what he did against Seattle. He was an animal blocking against Seattle. Amari Cooper can throw a block or two. Hell, even though he's small, Khalil Shakir, on Sunday night specifically, he did a really good job. In fact, he helped spring James Cook on that touchdown run with a block. So this is just a bigger, more physical, more committed to running the football type of team. Defensively, they're not the biggest defense, not even close, but they got physical guys that will come up and smack you in the mouth, especially these skill position guys. Teron Johnson, Taylor Rapp, big hitters. Bernard is a really ferocious hitter. Of course, we know Matt Milano, as he gets his feet wet, he'll be that way. Their corners are very physical. Christian Benford, Rasul Douglas. And then you got the freak of the athlete who's physical and athletic, Groot, Greg Rizzo. I don't know, it just feels like a different team to me this year. And Sunday really affirmed that. I was nervous before the game. How are they going to play in this weather? How much is it going to slow down now? A West Coast team coming in, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Obviously, advantage Buffalo. But I don't care if that was Frisco. I don't care if that was Baltimore. I don't care if that was Kansas City, whoever it may have been coming into this house on Sunday night. The Bills just were committed to playing a brand of football that has worked all season long. And I don't see it stopping. Just a different team, a different mindset. And it has not been more evident to me than Sunday night. Big takeaway. I'm blown away. No fumbles. The Bills did not fumble the ball. There was not a bobbled snap. There wasn't a bad snap. There wasn't a mishandled snap. No interceptions. No real miscues on offense whatsoever. The elements in this game were quite literally zero factor to the Buffalo Bills. Just kind of remarkable to me. But I just feel now, getting into January, again, the crowd is going to always be a big advantage. There's advantages and perks to playing at home. But having a team that is built to play well at home, to me, is going to be something worth monitoring going forward. I love what I saw in that respect on Sunday night. And then the other takeaway before we get to a quick break here, look, I'm kind of stating the obvious at this point, and I haven't much cared, but if Josh Allen is not your MVP, if you're watching this, whether you're a Bills fan, whether you're in the media, whether you're a fan of the 31 other teams, I really don't care at this point. If Josh Allen, and you're being objective and honest with yourself, if he's not your MVP right now, what are we doing here? What are you doing here if he's not your MVP? I feel like coming into this game, he had already checked all these boxes. Sunday night to me was like an exclamation point. You want numbers? I'll give you some numbers. 13-17 on Sunday night, $148, 2 touchdowns, 1 technically to himself. And those are numbers in a snowstorm. You saw the difference between Brock Purdy and Josh Allen. And even with McCaffrey getting hurt, which really sucked, by the way, I don't want to hear that Frisco didn't have weapons, okay? Because they got Juwan Jennings, they got Deebo Samuel, they got George Kittle. That's a team that even with the injuries is still chock full with plenty of guys who can get it done. night and day difference in these elements between Josh and Brock Purdy. So good numbers considering it was a snowstorm and the way he handled this offense. Like I said, he threw for one, legit one, got that crazy lateral we'll be talking about for a long time for another. He also ran for a touchdown, got through Fred Warner. Just, I don't know, man. Did he even throw a pass that was interceptable? I don't think so. He didn't even come close to committing a turnover in this game. Did almost fumble the ball, didn't take a sack. Just another great game. And he ran the ball, look, 3 times for 18 yards. That's not really much. But think about those 3 runs. The first one was a successful tush push on 3rd and 1, which, what's it called? The Orchard Park shovel push or whatever the hell people were calling it on the broadcast. Regardless, that's successful. It always is. It was 3rd and 6, and he had a 3rd down design power run. He got hit 2 yards before the marker, bowled his way for a 1st down, banged up his hand on the play. That was scary for a few minutes. Found out after the game he hit his funny bone, and he said it hurt like hell for a few minutes, but then he was fine. But anyway, so he has that for a 1st down. And then the 3rd time he runs the ball was in the end zone for a touchdown. Just a beautiful read and anticipation for him to score the football. That's just, that's Sunday. And it's kind of like you look at it from that game. When you look at it as a season snapshot, he's got 28 total touchdowns now and just 5 interceptions this year and just 1 lost fumble. That's it. 12 games now. Only 6 total turnovers, 5 interceptions. Last year, Josh had 38 touchdowns. So he had 10 more touchdowns, and the Bills still have, 5 more games left to play. But the difference is last year, he had 21 turnovers. So he's had more than 3 times the amount of turnovers last year with just 5 games left to go. So any way you look at it, other than passing yards or total touchdown passes, the stats are right there. And then another thing that you need to have an MVP kind of season is memorable highlight plays. And I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Josh is doing this almost like on a week-to-week basis. And lately, he's doing it on these big-ass stages. The world watching 2 weeks ago against Kansas City, the highest rated non-Christmas or Thanksgiving game in 15 years or some shit like that against Kansas City. Game-winning run, 4-2. He's got to have it in the biggest moment, and he gets it. Then you get the crazy lateral play where he catches the ball, but not only does he catch the ball, because that was kind of like hokey pokey, wasn't really planned, but once he gets the ball in his hands, gets off a tackle and lunges and dives for the end zone and it gets the pylon. It's just highlight shit, man. That's just the stuff that MVPs do. And he has now established himself, again, there's still 5 weeks left, but as the prohibitive betting favorite. He's at minus 210 right now on FanDuel. Saquon Barkley is second. He's plus 350. Lamar's all the way down to plus 950. Another tough loss for the Ravens on Sunday where Lamar had a couple of fumbles. And then Jared Goff, who the Bills will see in 2 weeks, is at plus 1,000. So as long as his play doesn't fall off a cliff completely or God forbid he gets hurt in the next week or two, it's really looking like Josh Allen is going to win MVP for good reason. And I've been spending so much time now talking about all the physical things that he's been so good at. But for me, the most single impressive thing about Josh Allen this season is mentally. He's there mentally. Like this game feels slower than ever the way he just is able to process things on the go. The game has slowed down so much. I know a lot of basketball players have talked about this. They come to the NBA, even the great ones, and the game feels like it's moving a mile a minute. And as they become great players, the game just slows down for them. Doesn't feel rushed, convoluted. It kind of feels like that's where Josh Allen is at right now. Like you don't get rattled. He's just there mentally. Guys like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, different types of quarterbacks, of course. And these guys are, multi-time Super Bowl champions. So I'm not comparing Josh right now to them. But what I'm saying is, after they were in the league for a certain amount of time, they would talk about how they've seen everything. They know everything that's coming. They know how to read a defense. They know everything that's out there. Josh is getting to that point right now. And he's still crazy ass Josh. He does some crazy shit and it's fun to watch. But he's just smarter now more than he's ever been. And he doesn't have that one star player. Like you look at some of these other guys right now. like Saquon Barkley. He's got two world-class receivers with him in an elite quarterback. Lamar's got Derrick Henry. You can make a case that Josh Allen doesn't have a real quote-unquote star player on this offense. And you take the 7-game winning streak. Joe Marino pointed this out, by the way. Locked On Bills, credit to him for this. But during the Bills' 7-game winning streak, 5 guys have led the team in wide receiver yards. Ray Davis has done it twice. Khalil Shakir has done it twice. Matt Collins has done it. Keon Coleman has done it. In this past game, Dawson Knox led this team in receiving yards with 56. So it really don't matter. It's not like he's throwing the ball to one guy like Joe Burrow throws to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and that's it. Like, this ball's getting spread around like crazy with Josh at the helm here. It's truly, the weight of, I think anyway, maybe I'm wrong, but the weight of having Stefon Diggs on this team and making sure he gets his touches and his targets, feeding him the ball. I think Stefon being gone for that reason alone, forget about any potential off-field stuff. Not going to get into that. I'm just talking about feeding him the football. I feel like that weight has been lifted off his shoulders with him gone. And that's not against Diggs. Like, Josh Allen needed Stefon Diggs where he was at in his career. A young quarterback, he needed a playmaker. He needed that sure thing that Stefon Diggs was. So again, this isn't really a diss towards him. I think CJ Stroud has kind of been at that point now a young quarterback. And look how Houston's offense has struggled since Stefon tore his ACL a month or so ago with Houston. So that's just kind of an example there. But anyway, this, like I said, this is just an open and shut case right now. If you didn't already have Josh Allen as your MVP and you still don't have him after Sunday night, I don't even know what to tell you. Anyway, quick break, come back. I want to talk about one specific, at the time, meaningless, it felt like, penalty against Frisco that I feel kind of kickstarted this whole night for the Buffalo Bills offense right after this break. All right, I am back here going over my biggest Buffalo Bills Week 13 takeaways. All right, before the break, I talked about one play, a small, kind of not substantial play at the time that kind of turned out maybe to end up being a big deal in this football game. All right, so you look at the final score, 35-10. The Bills blow out the 49ers. It felt like the game was never really in doubt. But if you go all the way back to the beginning here, the Bills did not win the toss. Frisco won the toss and deferred. Bills get the ball first. I hate when that happens. But anyway, the Bills get the ball. They go 3 and out on their first drive. Frisco gets the ball. Impressive drive. 9 plays. Run it down the Bills' throat, but the Bills' defense clamps down when they need to in the red zone, and the 49ers have to settle for a field goal. Then the Bills get the ball back a second time. And it's 3rd and 9. They're about to have their second consecutive 3 and out to start the game. Josh throws a pass over the middle of the field, high and incomplete to Khalil Shakir. But on that, and that would have forced, again, a second Bills punt. Who the hell knows what happens from there? Now you're talking 2 3 and outs at home, primetime football, shitty weather, snow blowing all over the place. Is this going to be a long, frustrating night for the Buffalo Bills offense against the San Francisco team that came into this desperate for a win? So you get that second stop. Only on that 3rd and 9 incomplete pass to Shakir, there's a penalty on San Francisco. Illegal contact on Ward, which was away from the ball, had nothing to do with the throw to Shakir. He gets called for holding, defensive holding on Curtis Samuel. So the Bills get a second life on that second drive with a first down. From there, the Bills have 3 more third downs on that drive, but they convert them all. The first one was the Josh Allen tush push. The second one was the Josh Allen 7-yard run on 3rd and 6. And then Ray Davis had a 13-yard run, and it was 3rd and 1. He busted one for 13 yards, who later went on to score a touchdown on that drive. So the Bills go up 7-3. And from there, pretty much for the rest of the game, that was an offense that was rolling. So you look at it from a Frisco perspective and you're like, man, if Ward doesn't have his hands wrapped up on Samuel, who Josh Allen was not throwing the ball to, we just forced a second consecutive 3-and-out. Maybe we go down and score and it's 6-0, or maybe it's 10-0. And it could be a completely different game. I know when you have 3-4 score blowout wins, it kind of feels like, well, it's one play have nothing to do with it. I don't always buy that though, because I am a believer in momentum and a couple plays kind of shaping a game that don't maybe necessarily feel like it at the time. But that was a big play to me anyway. And a big break for the Bills. Now, it was clearly a penalty on Frisco. But again, if you're a San Francisco guy or girl, you're really frustrated because it had nothing to do with the play. So that second chance really, it saved that drive and ultimately ignited the Bills offense for the rest of the game. Another takeaway I had is, especially after watching this game back, a pretty dominant performance from the Bills offensive line. Like Spencer Brown, who missed the Kansas City game because of the ankle, he was awesome. I thought he was awesome in his return. PFF confirmed that too. I looked it up. He had a 90.0 overall grade, which was the best on the entire Bills team for this game. An 89.8 run block, 82.3 blocking grade. So he was absolutely fantastic in his return. Now, no Nick Bosa for Frisco, of course. That hurt. But even so, again, they got some guys who could play. Leonard Floyd, former Buffalo Bill, silence. Nothing. He literally got in a shovey match with Alec Anderson. That was about the extent of Leonard Floyd's contributions for San Francisco in this football game. But anyway, Spencer Brown, fantastic. I thought Deion Dawkins was really, really good, especially in pass blocking. He had an 87.5 PFF pass blocking grade. Thought he was solid. David Edwards, solid. 74.8 PFF overall grade. He had an 85.4 pass blocking grade. Again, these guys just weren't letting anyone get near the quarterback. Josh Allen was not under a lot of duress whatsoever in this game. Connor McGovern, to me, you could throw out the numbers. He had shitty PFF grades, although he did have an 81 pass blocking grade, which is good. Somehow he only had a 54 PFF overall grade. Couldn't care less. Again, his first game as a Buffalo Bill at center in snow, in the elements, no snap issues whatsoever. Every snap on point, and he played perfectly fine. Osiris Torrance, I don't know what it is. There's just some players, like last year with PFF, it just felt like Tyrell Dodson couldn't do any wrong. Like you'd watch games and it'd be like, Dodson was okay. And then you would go the next day and you would look at the PFF grades and he's got the highest grade on the team. I think he was one of the top 5 graded linebackers in the entire NFL last season. I like Tyrell Dodson, but come on, man. He's not a great player. Osiris Torrance is like the opposite. I feel like he does make a couple of mistakes, and you see a couple bad reps here and there. But all in all, I thought he played, especially watching it back, I thought he played a pretty solid game. So he has a 74.7 PFF running grade, which I agree with. That's a solid number. But he only had a 31.8 pass blocking grade, and he was charged with giving up 3 hurries. The only one on the offensive line who was charged any. He was charged all 3 of them. No one else even had 1. I saw 1 on film. I really didn't see 3. So anyway, I don't know. Sometimes you could take, look at PFF and be like, well, that confirms what I already thought. Or you could see a grade and be like, no way. There's no way that he played that bad or only had a 31.8 pass blocking grade. And this is one of those, because I thought Osiris Torrance was fine. Maybe he was the weak link on the offensive line in this game, but that's saying that almost sounds like a disservice. It is a disservice to Osiris because he played good. The whole offensive line played really good. That was kind of my point. Another takeaway, and just you see it week after week. You see it not by what he does sometimes. You see it by what teams don't even bother trying to do, and that's go after him. Christian Benford, folks, is one of the most underrated players in the National Football League, period. I don't care about the position. He's just one of the most underrated players in football, period. I'm not going to go as far to call him the most underrated player in football because I don't watch 31 other teams play every single week. But I just find it hard to believe that there's a lot of guys in this league right now who are playing better football than him that are not talked about, maybe even outside of the little bubble here in Buffalo. This guy's having an all-pro, quite literally, an all-pro caliber season. Week in, week out, He gets the job done in a big way. He had another good game on Sunday night. They got Jennings again. They got Debo. Dangerous duo. Nada. Nothing. Nothing. Literally. One target thrown at Christian Benford for the game. No receptions. Beautiful pass breakup on Debo Samuel, by the way. He also had that fumble recovery near the end zone and ran it back 48 yards. Dude's just a beast. Per PFF, he's given up 22 catches for 180 yards for the season. 180 yards receiving for the season. He's got the fifth best pass coverage grade in the NFL per PFF at 81.3. And if that's not good enough, if he's not shutting you down by not getting beat through the air, he's also one of the more physically gifted corners in the NFL. He's got the second best tackling grade among all cornerbacks in the NFL, 85.5. Patrick Surtain from Denver is literally the only corner in the NFL who's got a better tackle grade with PFF than Christian Benford. A remarkable player. A couple of minutes ago, I talked about Tyrell Dodson getting these high grades every week. You didn't really see it. Well, you could see it with Christian Benford this year. Just remarkable. Brandon Beane. I ain't going to talk about Brandon Beane today because, we'll save this for February. This is too promising of a season right now to start worrying about the future. But boy, oh boy, between Benford, between Groot, between Bernard, and others, is so critical. Brandon Beane's going to find a way to keep these guys in tow. And Christian Benford is right there near the top. Another takeaway, not so much a name player like some of these guys. A lot of people, including myself, were concerned, thought he might be a liability on his defense. But I'll tell you what, Taylor Rapp, and this is my takeaway, he's got some old school Jordan Poyer dog in him. I'm talking like 2017 to 2022 Jordan Poyer, not the end of the road Jordan Poyer that we're watching play out this year, which is not fun to watch with Miami. Talk about Jordan Poyer, a leader on this team, a great player for the Bills for a lot of years. You're seeing a lot of those signs right now with Taylor Rapp. Another big play again on Sunday night. He punched the ball out of the hands at fullback right before he was going to go into the end zone. It was first and goal from the 4. Very early to start the third quarter. He scores a touchdown. Bam, it's 21-10. Who knows? Maybe Frisco gets a little momentum. They get a stop on defense, get the ball, make it a one-score game. But Taylor Rapp wasn't having none of that. Forces the fumble. Benford picks it up, brings it out to midfield. He had 91.2 run defensive grade, 77.9 overall, 82.0 tackle grade. So really good numbers to back up what we saw. He passed the eye test, I'm sure, for most of you on Sunday, and he definitely passed the statistical analytical grade test with PFF as well. He's got a 90.2. Here's a stat. This might be the stat of the day, folks. Taylor Rapp's got a 90.2 tackle grade for the season. That is second best among safeties in the entire NFL, among safeties who have played at least 50% of their team snaps. Second best tackling grade in the entire National Football League. So he's getting the job done. He's had 2 interceptions this season, back-to-back games, actually. He's got a forced fumble, which we got on Sunday. He has really come on. He's been really, really good. Matt Milano. So the Bills, we were wondering how he would be used. I thought, and probably a lot of you too, that this guy was going to get maybe half the reps. Like he'd play a series, come off for a series, a little bit here, a little bit there. Well, Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbage did not share that vision. They literally ripped that Band-Aid off Matt Milano completely and still go get him because he played all 37 of the non-dime defensive snaps for the Bills. So every snap for the game when the Bills were in nickel, Matt Milano was on the football field. He only came off when they'd go to a dime and Cam Lewis came on the field. Dorian Williams did not play one single snap on defense. So the Bills elected to go all in with Matt Milano. No swimming in the shallow side. They had him jump right into the deep end. Grade-wise, eye test-wise, Not memorable by any means. Honestly, not in fact, not even really a good game unless you have some perspective. Okay, so look, 41.3 PFF grade, that stinks. 38.1 PFF tackle grade, that stinks. He had two missed tackles. One of them was a bad one. It was back to back too, his two plays. So his best play of the game was a tackle, nice open field tackle with his arm on the running back Mason. But then on the very next play, he whiffed on Garendo when he scored that touchdown. Frisco's only touchdown of the game. Matt Milano missed a tackle that he should have had. So again, good tackle followed by a bad play. But look, who cares? Okay, let's be clear about this. This wasn't about, did you want him to go out there and be the Matt Milano of old? Did you want to see him get a sack? Did you want to see him have a pick, a forced fumble, something like that? A big splashy play? Of course, who didn't? But tonight, Sunday night, I should say, what about performance? It was about the reps, and he got a lot, plenty, 37 reps he got. The quicker he gets more accustomed to being back out there, the more reps he gets, the more contact he has, the more comfortable he feels, the more confident he gets, the better he's going to get and sooner. So would you rather have him play 37 plays like he did and basically not do shit? Or would you rather have had him play 12 to 15 snaps and have two really nice splash plays? I would have preferred the 37. I didn't think it was going to happen, but I'm glad the Bills handled it the way he did. Because again, he needs reps. He needs to get out there. I keep saying it. A lot of people are like, well, Von Miller was completely washed last year when he came back from the ACL. You're right. A lot of people said 2 years ago, Trey White was completely washed when he came back from the ACL. Well, you're right. But here's the thing. Matt Milano wouldn't come back from an ACL injury. It got nothing to do with his lower body. It was an upper body injury. So he just needs reps. He needs time. I think he'll be fine. Not a good game for him per se, individually, this game, but 37 reps is a lot more than I expected. And I think maybe not even next week, but as you get into Detroit or maybe New England the week after, I think Milano's going to get those reps are going to come and they're going to help him down the road as we get late into the season and into the playoffs. Look, I like Dorian Williams, man. This ain't no shade at Dorian Williams whatsoever. He's been very admirable this year. And if something happened to Milano, I would have confidence that Dorian Williams is going to be able to get the job done. But Matt Milano, with a couple games under his belt and some of that rust knocked off, is a better football player right now than Dorian Williams, period. End of story. As for the Niners, by the way, they look like a West Coast team that played on the East Coast in the snow. The difference between these two teams, especially when you watch it back, the traction, the way they were just stepping, heavy feet with Frisco. Brock Purdy lost that football, just flat out lost that ball that time. The fullback who never fumbles. Well, you know what? That wasn't really so much a fumble, just a great play by Taylor Rapp. But still, they lose that ball on defense. Way too much upper body grabbing instead of, using your body to tackle and wrap. It was a very sloppy effort from Frisco. Now, injuries, you can't sit here and say they weren't a factor. They certainly were. Bosa is an all-pro player. Trent Williams, arguably the best left tackle in football. The starting left side of their line was out for this game. And then Christian McCaffrey, who got off to a good start this game. I mean, he was looking like he was going to be a big problem for the Bills defense. That knee injury, by the way, I think he's out for the season. That felt demoralizing. I think that injury to McCaffrey demoralized that team. Like, here we go again. And by the way, Fred Warner got through the game. He left a little bit because of cramps, but he's been playing hurt pretty much all year. So just a lot of injuries. But even that aside, Frisco just looks like they just look at, like I said, like a West Coast team that really didn't want to play in the snow. Let's just call it what it is. Before we get out here, too. So a lot of people, including myself, were really interested in knowing, not really consequential because it was a blowout win, but the Bills did, for getting nitpicky of things to bitch about, the Bills did give up 2 long Deebo Samuel kickoff returns. And you might be wondering, well, who's at fault? Primarily, it's one guy, and that guy is Jalen Virgil. Both of them. The first one to start the third quarter, Virgil was the left gunner. and he got caught inside. You can see it on tape. He went inside too quick, and then Nick Morrow kind of got blocked one-on-one to the ground. DeMar Hamlin, Jamarcus Ingram slip a little bit, can't bring back Debo's got a full head of steam going, not either of their faults there. And then Joe Andreessen makes a tackle. Tyler Bass was there to at least slow him down, gives Joe Andreessen an opportunity to make a tackle, which he did. But yeah, Jalen Virgil is the guy. He got caught inside, and that allowed Debo to get to the right sideline. So the first one clearly on Jalen Virgil. And then on the second one, again, it was also Virgil. And this time he's the right gunner. He gets caught inside again. Probably that Jalen Virgil, I like him. I hope he gets another opportunity. Who knows, with a couple of these guys coming back from IR and the Bills having, Keon Coleman's back, they're already going to have 5 receivers. Virgil would be 6. But anyway, not a good night. Like, special teams film is probably not going to be a fun day for Jalen Virgil this week. Again, this time he's the right gunner. He gets caught inside and blocked by Chris Conley. And then DeMar Hamlin, who played pretty well on defense again, but, he actually struggled more on special teams than he did on defense. Kind of took a bad angle, and Samuel blew by him. Tyler Bass runs him out of bounds with Ingram and Cam Lewis scoring. So, again, the common denominator in those 2 long returns was Jalen Virgil kind of screwed up on both of those, if you were wondering. Not a great night for special teams as a whole. The Bills did, of course, Brandon Codrington didn't affect the game. The game was well over and well in hand, but Codrington did run back a punt for a touchdown, but it got wiped out because of a Cole Bishop holding penalty, which was the right call. Tyler Bass missed a field goal, but you know what? I'm not going to lump that into anything else he's done this season. 49-yarder in that weather, complete pass. He did connect on all 5 of his PATs. So a good game for him. But all in all, yeah, like I said, you allow 2 long returns. You get a touchdown return call back because of a holding penalty. Didn't matter this game, but down the road in a different game, against a different opponent, in a different situation, it might matter. So the Bills definitely need to shore that up there. My big lingering concern takeaway from this game, and this is the last thing I got for this game, defensive tackle play against the run. It's not good, man. Look, I'm going to give Weather a partial excuse. It was a factor. There's no question about it. You can see it on film too. But I did not like Daquan Jones's game, and I especially did not like Ed Oliver's game at all. And again, the footing was hard. I get it. I do. But Ed Oliver looked terrible to me. He got moved around one-on-one, not even like double teams. You could see him on, especially in the first half, when the 49ers were running the ball real well. They ran for like 111 yards in the first half of this game before it kind of got away from them. But there's several plays where Ed Oliver's just getting stood up. His back was turned a couple times. He's just getting pushed away from the ball by the guard or the center. Literally just one-on-one. Did not like seeing that. Ed Oliver remains to me like he's the most extreme up and down player on this football team, I think. Streakiest. I think it's what Ed Oliver is, because he's a stud at times. He's capable of carrying this defense on any given Sunday. He was a stud week 2 against Miami. He was a stud right before the bye against Kansas City. I thought he stood on his head. He was so good that game. But then he's been complete non-existent, non-factors in others, and at times a detriment. Arizona opening week, I thought it was awful. That was awful against Baltimore in week 4, and I thought he was borderline awful in this football game. I just do. Daquan Jones, look, he's been rock steady for several games now. I thought he started the season really slow, and maybe week 3 or 4, he definitely found his groove and has been playing a lot better since. I don't know, man. I didn't see much on Sunday night. Now, PFF, for what it's worth, strongly disagrees with me. They gave Daquan Jones an 83.4 PFF grade on defense, which was the highest of any defender on the Bills. In fact, that was the highest he's had all season long, and it's his highest PFF grade since week 4 against Miami last year, before he got hurt the following week in London against Jacksonville. But I didn't see it, man. I didn't see it. The PFF numbers kind of slightly backed the Ed Oliver thing, who, again, I just thought did not play well. In fact, I thought Austin Johnson got 12 snaps. Quentin Jefferson actually played a lot. He got 16 snaps, and Jordan Phillips had 10 snaps. I thought they were actually a little bit better. Like the Bills defense, I don't know if it was specifically because of them. Jefferson stood out a little bit. I really don't think Johnson or Phillips did anything, but for whatever reason, the Bills' run defense was just a little bit better when Phillips and Johnson were out there and Jefferson in the game. I said it during the game last night on the show. I'll say it again. To me, watching every Bills game this year, like all you, I think the most baffling thing to me all year, and it's worked out for the Bills, but teams just don't stick with the run against the Buffalo Bills. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. A night like Sunday night here in Orchard Park with the snow. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, yeah, a night like with the snow, it reminded me of the Monday night game a couple of years ago against New England. Now, listen, that was way colder and way windier. You really couldn't throw the football. Josh Allen could barely throw the football that game. But to me, the principles should have been the same. Frisco's running the ball well. You got two, before McCaffrey got hurt, you got two really good running backs. Mason's a good, powerful running back. I don't know why you weren't running the ball 85 to 90% of the time. Running on first, second, and third down. Make the Bills stop you in between the tackles on first, second, and third down. They're not going to go to a 4-3. They're not taking Teron Johnson off the field. They're not doing it. It just, I don't know. It blows my mind. Teams and offensive coordinators, when they play the Bills, just get too cutesy with me. It kind of, it doesn't drive me crazy because it benefits the Bills. I don't get it. But anyway, like I said, that to me at this point, it used to be the safeties. That's not the case anymore. Getting in late into the season, into the playoffs, and I can't even say hopefully now it is in the playoffs because the Bills officially are in the playoffs. That to me is the worrisome thing. Can Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones play good in the playoffs and shut down the middle of the trenches when teams are going to try to pound the football against them? I think that's going to be a huge key for the Bills down the stretch. To conclude here, by the way, Kansas City, the Bills are very much in play for the 1 seed, even though it's nauseating to find, the Chiefs just keep finding these ridiculous ways to win. The Vegas game last week, Carolina a couple weeks ago, it's ridiculous. I get it. And they only got one loss, but this team still is not even close to having that number 1 seed locked up. Their next 5 games, their last 5 games, they're playing the Chargers, at Cleveland, Houston, at Pittsburgh, at Denver. There are no easy games during that stretch. In fact, at Cleveland, Houston, and at Pittsburgh stretch is over 10 days too. I feel like I feel like Kansas City's got 2 losses for sure among those 5 games. And the Bills hold the tiebreaker. So if you're looking at it this way, if you're a Bills fan and your most realistic, this could happen path to the number 1 seed should be this. You got the Rams in Detroit over the next 2 weeks. Split them. Maybe you lose to the Rams, you get upset there, but then you beat Detroit. Or you beat the Rams, but then you lose to Detroit. Split those games. And then your last 3, you got the Patriots twice and the New York Jets in Orchard Park. And that team is pretty much quit. And if they haven't already, they certainly will by week 17. I can almost guarantee you Tyrod Taylor is going to be playing that game because Aaron Rodgers is a quitter and a scrub and a bum. And if he doesn't get run out, he's going to have an injury anyway. He won't be there week 17. You get my point. There's no reason for the Bills, especially if they're playing for something, to not win all 3 of those games. So you look at these last 3 or 5 games, you split the next 2, you easily get 1 more loss. That gives you 3 for the year. You need the Chiefs to lose 2 games. And again, at Cleveland, Chargers, at Cleveland, Houston, at Pittsburgh, at Denver. That could be 2 losses there. So the number 1 seed for the Bills is very, very much in play right now. All right, that's going to do it. Tomorrow's show, by the way, and Matt Warren from SB Nation is going to join me, and we're going to focus on the supporting role players, the complimentary guys that have really helped make this team, this season special so far anyway, for the Buffalo Bills. We're going to focus on guys like Mac Hollins, like Dawson Knox, who has really stepped up these past 2 weeks. Cam Lewis, who, he had to step in for Johnson earlier in the season, and he played well. He's got a role on the dime defense. He's made some really good plays on special teams. Guys like him and others, a bunch of really good complimentary players that are helping this team have success this year. That's going to be tomorrow's show. Matt Warren. Talk to you guys then.